We make a product that does go into people's lungs. And we take every single precaution to make sure that that e-liquid is clean.
Jeremy Forsey is one of the owners of E-Juice Boulevard in Caldwell, one of the few e-juice manufacturers here in the state of Idaho.
Worldwide, we have probably distributed, it's got to be getting close to 1 million bottles of e-liquid.
With recent negative attention on the vaping industry, the team here at E-Juice Boulevard wanted to be transparent and show people what goes into e-juice. Jeremy explains to us. They have nothing to hide.
We realize that you're going to inhale this product, and we don't want to be the ones to have to come and apologize.
The vape liquids are created here inside a lab that recently got an A+ rating from the FDA for its cleanliness and overall quality. Jeremy explains that the products made here in Caldwell have a very simple ingredient list.
Propylene glycol mixed with vegetable glycerin, nicotine, and a food-grade flavoring.
American health experts are still researching the effects those ingredients have when they are heated up and inhaled. For now, though, there really isn't an answer. E-cigarettes are not currently approved by the FDA as a quit smoking aid, but Jeremy says for him personally, and many people he knows, vaping has helped them live a healthier life.
I got healthy from vaping. I'm 49 years old, 200 registered visits to the gym this year, a clean bill of health from my doctor. I'm healthier than most 21-year-olds I know. And I attribute it to vaping. It saved my life. It got me off of smoking cigarettes.
Jeremy knows, though, that vaping isn't for everyone.
Vaping isn't safe. It's not something you should just go out and start doing. If you don't smoke or you don't vape, we don't recommend you start. But for those of us that made that mistake and gained that addiction, vaping's a very viable way to keep you and the people around you healthy.
He adds that over the years, his business has never had a health complaint.
We have never had one instance where our phone has rang, received an email, a tweet, an Instagram message, a Facebook message saying that our product made them sick.
To him, the recent epidemic of people being treated for vaping-related illness is simple to pin down.
And this thing with people getting sick did not happen until we started to see these THC black market cartridges where their chemists have no idea what they're doing.
The Center for Disease Control says that there's not one single product or substance that has been conclusively linked to all the recent vaping-related lung issues, but they do report most patients being treated for these vaping-related illness have had a history of using e-cigarette products that contain THC. That's the psychoactive compound in marijuana. Now, THC, it's illegal in the state of Idaho, so you won't find an e-juice that is made in the gem state. Jeremy says he doesn't have hesitations about making e-liquid for vape devices, as the so-called epidemic has made headlines.
I didn't have any ethical problem at all. In fact, I was quite proud of it. That we are helping to make a difference.
So our goal is to help people titrate down from their nicotine strengths and eventually get off vaping, cigarettes, everything completely if possible.
When e-juice leaves the manufacturer, it eventually ends up at a retail store like Vapor Loft here in Boise.
Just like this.
Stacy Forsey manages this store and says that she too is proud of being in the vaping industry. Like at the manufacturer, here, Stacy says there's nothing to hide.
All the propaganda you hear on the internet, it's disheartening because it's not true.
While at the end of the day, this is a business, Stacy says she continues to work here because she truly believes that they're helping people.
Helping the people that come in that need help because they can't quit smoking. It's a feeling of accomplishment, and we're helping people get healthier.
For now, people in the vaping industry like Stacy and Jeremy will just have to wait and see what new regulations or laws are coming to their industry. They say, though, that they are open to change, as long as their products will still be available to help those looking to quit smoking.
We're under scrutiny every day, as we should be. I feel like anything that can cause an addiction should be under scrutiny, but it also has to be regulated fairly.
Joe Paris, Idaho's News Channel 7.
All of these kinds of symptoms.
He started telling me about all of, his friends, and he's a runner, and some of his friends used it competing, and now they're not competing anymore, and that's concerning.
She's too young to be having that kind of pressure, so we want to arm her with the information she needs to just say, not interested.
Treasure Valley parents concerned that their kids are vaping and that they will get sick.
It is a huge number of young people who are using these nicotine products.
Dr. Bonnie Halpern-Felsher is a youth vaping research expert and professor of pediatrics at Stanford. She now travels the country to educate communities about the recent vaping epidemic.
So vaping really entered, we know that they came on the U.S. market around 2007, but they didn't take off in the youth market until around 2013, 2014.
While vape-related deaths and serious illness have been a topic of national conversation over the last month, Dr. Halpern-Felsher says this isn't a new problem.
But what we know, a lot of us who've been doing this for a while, is we've been seeing young people with pneumonia, with being short of breath, with some respiratory issues for quite a while.
National data indicates that 25% of high schoolers say that they vape. But educators across the country have told Dr. Halpern-Felsher that they suspect it's more like 50% or even 75% of students.
The overarching issue really is that we're having young people who never were going to smoke a cigarette and were not smoking cigarettes, initiating nicotine and tobacco through e-cigarettes, and that's the big concern. We know that youth are very attracted to the flavors, and youth have said to us, even in our studies, if there were no flavors, we wouldn't be using these products.
The CDC reports that no consistent vaping product, substance, or additive has been identified in all cases linked to lung disease in these patients. With that said, though, Halpern-Felsher explains that vaping almost anything is categorically not healthy.
Even if you took out the nicotine, just inhaling and again heating to very high levels and inhaling it is harmful to the lungs and probably to the cardiovascular system.
Vaping anything is particularly worse for young people because their lungs aren't fully developed until the age of 25. That's why she says attractive vape flavors need to be banned, and some states have already done that.
I don't think any of these groups are going too far. We know that if we take the flavors off the market, we're going to reduce youth use and prevent youth from uptaking.
While the vaping industry is hoping their products won't be banned across the board, they too agree that something needs to be done to keep kids safe.
They say that they don't want anything to do with our market, yet we found a box of Marlboros with a $10 off Juul starter kit for it to switch them over into what people are calling a new generation of smokers.
Jeremy Forsey co-owns an e-juice manufacturer in Caldwell. He says that the youth problem is rooted in the popular Juul vaping product.
Juul is owned by Big Tobacco. I can hold this in my hand and you can't tell anything that I'm about to do. I can do it very discreetly. You won't see me, my teachers won't see me, my parents won't see me.
According to Juul's website, the amount of nicotine in one standard Juul cartridge is roughly equal to the amount of nicotine in a whole pack of cigarettes. Now, that fact alone is alarming to the medical community, but Dr. Halpern-Felsher says that the devices being so small and easily usable by teens is just as big of a problem.
I think now it has just become so pervasive that it's hard for young people to say no. And then you've got the tremendous amount of nicotine, highly concentrated salt-based nicotine in some of these newer products. And then once they start and they use a few times, they're becoming addicted. And then you've got a whole nother set of problems there.
As researchers continue to look at the effects of vaping, many parents say that they will be keeping a close eye on their kids while keeping the door open for a meaningful conversation so that their kids can avoid what they fear could happen.
Addiction mostly. I mean, both my wife and I grew up in households where our parents had different addictions, whether that's cigarettes or tobacco of any kind, I guess. We'd prefer that not to be the story for our kids.
I want to make sure he doesn't get caught up in it. Just protect him, give him what he needs to stay strong and stay focused.
Dr. Halpern-Felsher says for now, the entire industry is like the Wild West. She says to keep kids safe, these products need to be stopped.
And then I get a lot of people saying, well, isn't caffeine a danger? Or what about flavored alcohol or other things? Well, first of all, yeah, those are harmful for young people as well. And we're not refuting them. We're not talking about one versus the other. But we're saying right now we have a huge issue across the country with young people and adults using these vaping devices and becoming sick.
Joe Paris, Idaho's News Channel 7.
We ask for their identification, and if they don't have it on them, we do have to ask them to leave. We don't allow minors in the shop.
As the manager of Vapor Loft, Stacy Forsey says she's seen underage kids try and buy their products.
The whole community here, all the vape shops, are really good at making sure we're not selling to minors, and it's kind of a protocol that we do. So we don't sell to minors.
But a lot of teenagers are still getting their hands on vape devices and products.
The overarching issue really is that we're having young people who never were going to smoke a cigarette and were not smoking cigarettes, initiating nicotine and tobacco through e-cigarettes, and that's the big concern.
Dr. Bonnie Halpern-Felsher is a youth vaping research expert and professor of pediatrics at Stanford University. She says a huge part of battling the teen vaping trend is calling for regulation of online products.
Online sales, I mean, all you have to do is an age verification and say, yes, I'm of age, and you're entered into the sites. So here, I mean, we have it regulated.
Stacy says by making the products difficult to get online, teens will be forced to try retail stores where they will be turned away. But still, the vaping industry has concerns about over-regulation, like the e-juice flavor bans that 3 states have already moved forward with, and many others are seriously considering.
If you take those flavors away from adults, it's going to create a black market. You aren't going to have safe labs where your e-liquid is being made. You're not going to know what's in it because there isn't going to be anybody to regulate it.
Jeremy Forsey is one of the owners of E-Juice Boulevard in Caldwell.
You know, we're under scrutiny every day, as we should be. I feel like anything that can cause an addiction should be under scrutiny, but it also has to be regulated fairly.
To him and many others on his team, that would come in the form of legislation that would make it harder for minors to get their hands on nicotine products.
So Tobacco 21 is raising the minimum age from 18 to 21 for all tobacco products.
Anita Sloan is a sophomore at Boise State. And for the last 3 years, she's worked at the State House in Boise and on the national stage in Washington, D.C., pushing for Tobacco 21 legislation.
I think a lot of it's a peer pressure and just the influence. It's like, oh, my friends are doing it. I don't want to be the only one that's not doing it, so I might as well. Or like we were talking about the bathrooms. Everyone's in there, and some people are afraid to go into the bathrooms because they don't want to be pressured into that.
And we know that young people have 18-year-old friends. So if we can push the age as late as possible, we reduce access and we reduce the likelihood that a young person will initiate and become addicted.
National data shows that tobacco use as a whole is increasing among young people. Experts say that kids today might have been a nicotine-free generation if not for vaping. It's that fact alone that keeps Anita Sloan pushing to make a difference with Tobacco 21 legislation.
I want to care for everyone. I'm not just looking out for myself. I'm not looking out for my lungs. I'm looking out for everyone else.
Joe Paris, Idaho's News Channel 7.